The music was loud, the lights soft and golden, and laughter floated through the air like champagne bubbles. It was Ethan's 30th birthday, and the ballroom sparkled as if it belonged in a movie. Everyone wore sharp suits and glittering dresses, the kind of people who always looked like they belonged in places like this. Amelia stepped inside, clutching her small black purse. Her dress was plain, navy blue cotton, the kind she could wear to work if she added a cardigan. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't new, and standing here, she felt every thread of it. She had come only because Ethan had insisted. He was her brother. No matter how far apart they had grown, family was still family. She walked slowly, trying not to look nervous. Waiters carried trays of wine glasses, and the smell of expensive perfume hung in the air. She spotted Ethan across the room, standing tall, confident, his arm around a man in a tailored suit. Ethan looked nothing like the boy she had grown up with. His hair was perfectly styled, his smile too polished. When he noticed her, he lifted a hand, calling out, "Amelia, over here." Heads turned. Dozens of strangers looked at her, their eyes curious. Amelia smiled faintly and moved closer. Ethan put his arm around her shoulder, drawing her into the spotlight. For a second, she thought maybe, just maybe, he was proud to have her there. But then Ethan laughed. "Everyone meet Amelia," he said, his voice smooth, carrying through the room. "My maid." There was a pause, a sharp silence that cut through the music. Then came the soft gasps, a few muffled chuckles. Some looked confused, others amused. Amelia froze, her breath caught in her chest. Her maid. The words sank in, heavy and cruel. She blinked, her cheeks burning hot, though she forced herself not to look down. She felt the sting of betrayal, sharper than any insult. This was her brother, the boy she had once held when he cried, the boy she had fed when there was barely enough for herself. And here he was, reducing her to a punchline. Ethan grinned, enjoying the reaction. "She keeps things tidy," he added, raising his glass as though it were all a harmless joke. Amelia said nothing, her lips pressed into a line, and she nodded politely as if the comment had rolled off her back. But inside, her chest tightened and her eyes burned. The crowd soon shifted. The moment brushed aside as the music swelled again, but Amelia couldn't forget. She stood quietly, her heart pounding, watching the people around her. She did not let her tears fall. She did not storm out. She only observed, silently, carefully, like someone who had just been shown a truth she could never unsee. Amelia remembered a time when things were very different. Before the glittering parties, before Ethan wore his perfect smile, there was only a small apartment that smelled of laundry, soap, and tiredness. Their father had left when Amelia was 10 and Ethan was only 7. One morning he was there, the next he was gone. No note, no explanation. Just silence and an empty chair at the kitchen table. Their mother had tried to stay strong, but the weight of everything pressed down on her. She worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. She would leave before sunrise and come back long after the kids were supposed to be asleep. Her hands were always dry from cleaning, her shoulders always slumped from exhaustion. It was Amelia who picked up the pieces. She woke Ethan for school, made him breakfast when there was enough food, packed his bag. She sat with him when he had nightmares, helped with his homework even when she was barely keeping up with her own. Many nights, she skipped hanging out with friends or finishing her own assignments because Ethan needed her. She traded her childhood for responsibility without complaint, because who else would do it? When money was short, she lied to Ethan and said she wasn't hungry so he would eat. When kids at school asked why she never went out, she smiled and said she liked staying home. The truth was she couldn't afford to waste time. She had a little brother depending on her. As they grew older, Amelia wanted to go to college, to study literature. She dreamed of writing stories, maybe even teaching one day. But then their mother's health began to fail. The late nights and endless shifts had taken a toll. Amelia made the choice quickly. She put aside her dreams and went into nursing. It was steady work, and it meant she could take care of both her mother and Ethan. Ethan, on the other hand, seemed to slip out of the struggles as if they never touched him. He was charming, quick to make friends, always chasing opportunities. He stumbled into the right people at the right time, invested in a startup someone else built, and luck carried him higher and higher. Soon, he had a nice car, a big apartment, and an endless circle of wealthy friends. He barely looked back. Amelia didn't envy the money. She envied the freedom. He never had to stay home while others lived their lives. He never had to wonder if the bills could be paid or if their mother would be okay. He only had to think about himself, and somehow that selfishness was rewarded. She still worked as a nurse, long shifts on her feet, sometimes missing meals just to save time. Every paycheck, she set money aside for her mother's medicines, for the rent on the small house where her mother still lived. She visited every day, cooked, cleaned, sat with her mother during doctor appointments. Ethan rarely came. He sent money now and then, just enough to say he had done his part, but he always had an excuse for why he couldn't visit. Too busy. Meetings. Travel. important people to impress. Amelia never complained to him. She kept her pain quiet. On the outside, she smiled, nodded, told him she was proud. But deep inside, there was a sadness that grew heavier with each year. She had given up so much, and yet somehow she was the one left behind, forgotten in the shadows of her brother's success. What hurt most wasn't the money or the status. It was that Ethan never seemed to remember. He never said thank you for the years she had carried him, for the nights she sat up while he cried, for the sacrifices she made so he could feel normal. To him, it was as if none of it had ever happened. And so Amelia lived with her unspoken pain. She carried it like a weight no one else could see. To the world, she was just another nurse, a plain woman living a simple life. But she knew the truth. Without her, Ethan's story would have been very different. And yet, standing at his party, hearing him call her his maid, she realized he would never admit it. The music kept playing, but Amelia felt the sting of her brother's words long after the crowd had moved on. She tried to smile when people glanced her way, but she could feel the whispers floating around the room like smoke. A few of Ethan's friends covered their mouths when they looked at her, whispering to each other, smirking. Some laughed softly, as if she really was nothing more than the maid her brother had called her. Her chest tightened. She wanted to disappear, to run out into the night and never look back. But instead, she excused herself quietly, saying she needed some air. She walked down a hallway lined with mirrors and golden lights, her heels clicking against the polished floor. She stopped near the side of the ballroom, where tall curtains framed a quiet corner. There, away from the main crowd, she breathed deeply, trying to steady herself. Her eyes burned, but she blinked the tears away. She would not cry here, not in front of these people. Then she heard laughter again. Ethan's voice close by. He had slipped into the corner with two of his friends, drinks in hand. They hadn't seen her. She froze, standing just out of sight. "Your sister seems sweet," one of the men said, trying to sound polite. Ethan snorted. "Sweet? Please. She's only good for cleaning and babysitting. That's her whole life. Take care of mom, take care of kids at the hospital. That's it. She doesn't belong here." Amelia's breath caught. The words pierced deeper than the first insult. This wasn't just a careless joke. This was what he truly believed. That everything she had done, all the sacrifices, the years of caring for him and their mother, meant nothing. In his eyes, she was just a servant. The men chuckled awkwardly, and Ethan laughed louder, enjoying the moment. Amelia pressed her hand against the wall, her body shaking. The air felt heavy, pressing down on her chest. She turned and walked away before they could notice her. Each step felt harder than the last. In the bathroom, she stood in front of the mirror. Her reflection looked pale, her eyes red. She stared at herself for a long time, hearing his words over and over. Only good for cleaning and babysitting. Her heart broke, but beneath the hurt, something else began to rise. A heat, a quiet anger that she hadn't felt in years. She thought of all the nights she had given up her own dreams, the mornings she had packed his school lunches, the afternoons she had skipped parties to help with his homework. She thought of their mother, sick and fragile, and how Ethan never showed up. And now here he was, laughing at her, erasing everything she had done. For the first time, Amelia realized she couldn't just swallow it anymore. Keeping silent had cost her too much. If she let him continue, he would keep mocking her, keep erasing her story, until there was nothing left of her but the label he had chosen. She straightened her shoulders. She wiped her face, took a deep breath, and walked back into the party with calm steps. On the outside, she looked composed, but inside her decision had already been made. She would not let Ethan's lies stand. She didn't know yet how or when, but she knew one thing with certainty. The next time he tried to make her small, she would not stay quiet. After that night at the party, Amelia stopped answering Ethan's calls. Not that he called much. A short message here and there, usually about some new event he wanted her to attend, or a photo of him shaking hands with people she had never met. She ignored them all. Weeks passed, and Ethan didn't seem to notice her absence. His world spun fast, full of business dinners, fancy parties, and friends who only spoke the language of money. Amelia's life moved at a different pace. The long hours at the hospital blurred together. She woke before the sun, changed into her scrubs, and worked through endless shifts caring for patients. By the time she came home, she was drained. But her day never ended at the hospital. Every night, she went straight to her mother's small house. Her mother's health was failing. The cough that had started as something small grew worse. Some nights, Amelia stayed by her bedside, holding her hand until the medicine finally calmed her breathing. She cooked, cleaned, and paid the bills. She made sure the fridge was never empty, even if it meant skipping meals herself. She handled everything, because that was what she had always done. Ethan sent money from time to time. A wire transfer here, a deposit there. It was enough to help with the medicines, but he never visited. When Amelia reminded him that their mother missed him, he gave the same excuse. "I'm too busy. You know how it is. Too busy." Those words cut deeper every time. She imagined their mother waiting by the window, hoping to see her son's car pull up, but the street always stayed empty. One afternoon, while Amelia was sitting in the kitchen folding laundry, a family friend stopped by. Mrs. Turner had known them since childhood. She lived 2 streets over and often checked in. She carried a basket of muffins and spoke in her usual cheerful way, but then she paused, her eyes uncertain. "Amelia," she said gently, "I wanted to ask, is Ethan really doing as much as he says?" Amelia looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" Mrs. Turner hesitated. "Well, I saw him the other night at a dinner. He was talking about your mother. He told everyone how he takes such good care of her, how he makes time in his busy schedule to sit with her, how he handles her doctor's appointments. He said you help sometimes, but it's really him who's there." The basket of laundry slipped from Amelia's lap, a shirt falling to the floor. Her throat tightened. For a moment, she couldn't even speak. Mrs. Turner sighed. "I didn't mean to upset you. I just thought you should know." After she left, Amelia sat in silence, her hands clenched. The anger inside her grew heavy, pressing against her chest like a storm she could no longer contain. Ethan wasn't just ignoring his responsibilities, he was taking credit for hers. He was telling the world he was the good son, while she was nothing more than background help. The thought of it made her shake. All those nights spent holding their mother's hand, all those mornings spent cooking meals before work, all the hours and sacrifices, stolen from her, twisted into lies that made him look noble. It wasn't just about pride. It was about her life, her truth being erased. If people believed Ethan, then she was invisible. Everything she had endured meant nothing. She paced the kitchen, torn between choices. She could call him, scream down the phone, demand he stop lying. But she knew how that would go. He would laugh, dismiss her, tell her she was being dramatic. He always had a way of making her feel small, as if her pain was an exaggeration. Or she could wait. She could expose him, not in private where his words could twist, but in public where everyone would hear the truth. She thought back to that party, to the laughter when he called her his maid. That moment had spread among his friends like gossip. What if this time the truth spread just as fast? The idea both scared and thrilled her. She wasn't someone who liked the spotlight. She had spent her life in the background, working quietly, unnoticed. But maybe that was why it mattered so much. For once, she wanted her story to be heard. Her conflict grew heavier each day. She carried it while she worked long shifts, while she washed dishes in her mother's kitchen, while she lay awake at night staring at the ceiling. Should she protect the fragile thread of peace between them, or should she finally break it and let the truth out? Every time she saw her mother's tired face, the answer leaned closer toward one choice. Every time she remembered Ethan's laugh at that party, the smirk on his lips when he called her a maid, the anger inside her grew sharper. Still, doubt lingered. Was it worth the fight? Would people even believe her? Or would they side with the man in the expensive suit, the one who knew how to charm a crowd? Amelia clenched her fists, whispering to herself in the quiet house. "I can't let him erase me. Not again. Not anymore." The decision was not final yet, but the fire inside her had already started. The ballroom sparkled again, this time even brighter than before. Ethan was celebrating a big business deal, and everything about the night screamed success. The chandeliers glowed, the music was soft and expensive, and the guests floated around in glittering clothes. Waiters carried trays of champagne, and laughter filled the air. Amelia stepped inside, but she was different now. She wore a simple black dress, neat and elegant, and she walked with steady steps. She was not here to blend into the background. She was here with a purpose. Beside her, moving slowly with the help of Amelia's arm, was their mother. Frail, thin, but dressed in her nicest sweater. Her eyes shone with quiet strength. People noticed immediately. Some whispered, recognizing Amelia from the last party. Others glanced at the old woman with curiosity. But Amelia didn't flinch this time. She guided her mother to a chair near the front of the room and stood close. Soon, Ethan appeared at the top of the staircase, soaking in the attention like sunlight. He raised his glass, his smile wide. "Thank you, everyone," he said loudly, the room going quiet. "Tonight we celebrate more than a business deal. We celebrate hard work, determination, and the fact that I built everything you see here with my own 2 hands." Applause rose. Ethan's grin widened. He lifted his glass higher. "When I look back, I know I did it all myself. No shortcuts, no help. Just me." The words struck Amelia like a spark to dry wood. Her heart raced, but she did not hesitate. She stepped forward, her voice clear. "That's not true." The room froze. Every head turned. Ethan's smile faltered. "Excuse me?" he said, his voice sharp. Amelia's hands trembled, but her voice grew stronger. "You didn't build this alone. You've never been alone. Do you want the truth? Here it is." Murmurs spread. Ethan's face tightened, but Amelia kept going. "When Dad left, Mom worked herself to the bone just to keep us fed. And when she couldn't do it all, I stepped in. I cooked for you. I helped with your homework. I stayed home when I should have been out living my life. Every choice I made was for this family, for you. While you chased dreams, I gave up mine. While you forgot Mom, I stayed by her side. And now you stand here pretending you carried everything by yourself? That's a lie. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ethan's face turned red, his jaw stiff. Amelia, he hissed, trying to laugh it off. This isn't the time. But Amelia raised her hand. No, you've had your time. Tonight, people will hear the truth. She stepped aside and gently touched her mother's shoulder. Their mother stood slowly, her hands shaking but her voice soft and steady. Everything Amelia says is true, she whispered. The microphone caught her words, carrying them through the room. It was Amelia who took care of me. Amelia who raised Ethan when I could not. She gave up her life for us. Ethan sent money, yes, but he was never here. Not once when I was sick. Not once when I needed him. The silence that followed was heavy. No music, no laughter. Just the weight of truth filling the air. Ethan's mask cracked. His smile was gone, replaced by a desperate, angry look. Mom, you don't remember right, he stammered. You're confused. But the crowd wasn't convinced. People whispered, some shaking their heads, others glaring at him. The polished image he had built was falling apart, piece by piece. Amelia reached for her mother's hand, holding it tight. Her voice was calm now, steady. I was never your maid, Ethan. I was your sister. And I was the one who kept this family together. Gasps turned into silence again, the kind that cut deeper than any laughter. Ethan looked around the room, but no one came to his rescue. His friends, his business partners, they all stared with cold eyes, their admiration slipping away. Amelia didn't stay to watch him crumble. She guided her mother back to her seat, her head held high. For the first time in years, she felt light, as if the weight of silence had finally lifted from her chest. Ethan tried to recover, his voice sharp and nervous. Come on, everyone. Don't listen to this. Amelia is just emotional. She exaggerates. You know how families are. Messy, complicated. He laughed, but the sound was thin, forced. No one laughed with him. His business partners looked at each other, whispering behind their glasses. His friends avoided his eyes. The admiration that had once filled the room had turned cold. Where there had been smiles and applause, now there was only doubt and disappointment. Ethan tried again, lifting his glass as if to reset the night. Let's not ruin the celebration. Tonight is about success, about growth. But the words fell flat. The crowd wasn't listening anymore. They had seen the cracks, heard the truth, and no amount of charm could cover it. Amelia stood steady, her hand resting on her mother's shoulder. She didn't shout. She didn't gloat. She looked at Ethan calmly, and for the first time, he couldn't meet her eyes. She stepped closer, her voice quiet but clear enough for him and everyone else to hear. I was never your maid. I was your sister. But today you lost that. The words hung in the air like a final judgment. Ethan flinched, his mouth opening as if to argue, but nothing came out. The silence around him was louder than anything Amelia could have said. Amelia turned away. She guided her mother toward the doors, her head held high. Each step felt lighter, freer, as though she was walking out of years of shadow. She didn't look back. Outside, the night air was cool and fresh. Her mother squeezed her hand weakly. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Amelia smiled, her throat tight with emotion. I just told the truth, Mom. That's all. But inside, she knew it was more than that. For years, she had carried the weight of silence, letting Ethan's lies shape how the world saw her. Tonight, she had broken free. In the days that followed, Amelia didn't hear much from Ethan. He sent a short message, something about misunderstandings, about family needing to stay united. But his words no longer held power over her. She didn't reply. She focused instead on her mother, on her patients at the hospital, on herself. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to think about her own future. Not as someone's caretaker, not as someone's shadow, but as her own person. She signed up for a writing class on her day off, something she had always wanted to do. She started journaling again, filling pages with her thoughts, her stories, her truth. Each word felt like a step toward the life she had once dreamed of. People who had been at the party reached out quietly, some apologizing for laughing at Ethan's first joke, others thanking her for her courage. But Amelia didn't need their approval anymore. What mattered was that she had spoken, and she had been heard. Ethan's world grew quieter, she heard through whispers. Some partners pulled away. Some friends stopped calling. His charm had limits, and the truth had a way of sticking. Amelia didn't rejoice in his downfall. She didn't wish him ruin. All she wanted was peace. And finally she had it. She sat with her mother one evening, watching the sun set through the kitchen window. The sky glowed orange and pink, soft and calm. Her mother reached for her hand. You've given me so much, she said softly. Amelia squeezed back. It's not about giving anymore, Mom. It's about living. And for the first time, she truly believed it. Family betrayal hurts in a way nothing else can. Strangers can insult you, friends can leave you, but when it comes from your own blood, the wound cuts deeper. That night at Ethan's party, when he called me his maid, I felt something inside me break. But what hurt even more was knowing that it wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was how he truly saw me. For years, I stayed silent. I told myself it was better not to fight, better to keep the peace. But silence doesn't protect you. It protects the one who hurts you. It allows their version of the story to grow stronger while you disappear. Speaking the truth wasn't easy. My hands shook, my voice trembled. But once I began, I felt lighter. Every word was a weight I had carried for years, finally being set down. And when my mother stood beside me, when she confirmed the truth, I knew I was no longer alone in that pain. The truth didn't destroy me. It set me free. I learned something I should have known long ago. My worth isn't tied to whether Ethan acknowledges it. My sacrifices, my love, my work, they stand on their own. He can erase them in his story, but he can never erase them from reality. People sometimes think revenge means making the other person suffer, but I don't believe that anymore. Sometimes the best revenge isn't anger, it's freedom. Walking away, holding your head high, choosing to live your life without carrying the weight of their shadow. I was never his maid. I was his sister, and now I am finally myself. Hey besties, thanks for sticking around till the end. Betrayal from family cuts the deepest, but speaking the truth is what sets you free. Amelia's journey reminds us that our worth isn't defined by others. It's found in our own strength. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more powerful stories. See you in the next one. Bye!